Hi, this is Greg from Interview Insights. I recently interviewed 3 NQTs and they were kind enough to share with me how things are going for them so far. So I asked them, what is the most important thing you've learned so far in your training year? What have been your biggest challenges and why? How effective was your induction, and did you feel prepared to teach at the start of this term? Is the job what you expected, and if not, how is it different? And the NQTs were affected either directly or indirectly by COVID. And so I asked them, how do you feel COVID has affected your professional learning? And here's what they said.
I'm currently isolating due to a case within my bubble. So that's been quite an anxious time, to be honest with you, with Covid-19 hanging over me, hanging over all of us as teachers and NQTs. And it's something that's made this journey into teaching quite a lot more difficult than it could have been. We lost quite a lot of time during the training year, full term. Never really got the timetable up to a level to what would be quite useful now and what we'd be used to now. So there was that. We had a lot of time for CPD, but that doesn't really give you the experience that you need to hone your skills in this profession. But luckily, the school that I'm in at the moment has been fantastic, and I couldn't have asked for a kinder, more understanding department. And we're all working together now to ensure that staff wellbeing is looked after, as well as providing a good education to the children that we're supposed to be teaching.
So I did have to be tested for COVID after having symptoms. Thankfully, it was just the flu. I mean, at the moment, it's very difficult. COVID is preventing most teachers from doing their job 100% as what they would have done before, such as checking people's work, marking, etc. Waiting for the test result was quite concerning, particularly because I didn't want to spend 2 weeks off of school after just starting to establish relationships, etc., with the pupils, and also because I have a vulnerable mum and my grandma as well. So I was sort of worried in case it meant that I wouldn't be able to see them for a little while, etc. So they are worrying times, but I mean, many people are in exactly the same boat. So just going with the flow, but the pupils have been amazingly resilient in these trying times. I mean, they have settled in really well, which is a real positive.
So for me, the most important thing that I learned in my training year was not to assume a child's understanding of basic terms and language. This was something I encountered very early on. Kids not quite understanding the task or not quite understanding some keywords in written texts. I always thought that behaviour management would be the most challenging aspect of being an NQT. Without the support of another adult in the room that you've got during your training year, which it does help keep the behaviour in check, especially when it's an established member of staff that's got the kids behaving to a level over a number of years of working in the school. So yeah, I thought that behaviour management would be something that struggled quite a lot. It's not actually been the case. Apart from 1 year 8 class I've had this year so far, that's my main struggle. I've had some quite good behaviour, managed to just use techniques that I'd learnt last year, and it seems to work. So yeah, what I have found is the problem so far is workload. It's not as tough as it was in your training year, so don't worry about that. But it's definitely important, I feel, to get that work-life balance right.
I think one of the most challenging things for my NQT year is going to be starting at a new school and forming those relationships with pupils and behaviour management. So being prepared for students to sort of test my boundaries and see where the line is. But I'm prepared more for that, having experienced that in my training year. My induction was really good. I had it a few days before term started, and it did prepare me for school, but being honest, I don't think any induction can fully prepare you, because you need to sort of get stuck in and then start building relationships with pupils, which you can only do once you're in the classroom. My job is as I expected. I've expected it to be tough. I'm coming up to my first half term now. And this term's always a bit of a hard slog. It was my training year because you're trying to establish new relationships with the classroom, establish your expectations, and also sort of trialling new behaviour management strategies as well.
So my induction for school for this new term was quite effective, actually. I'd say it was quite good, but the first day still hit you like a ton of bricks. It was the first day teaching. Yeah, I went home and I was in bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock. I was very tired, but got into the swing of things fairly quickly. Second, third day, it just went past like that. It wasn't an issue. It was good. I'm pretty used to it now. Just managing to keep some time for yourself and your hobbies would be my advice on that one.
One of the most important things that I learnt during my NQT year was to experiment and to try different things, so different activities, different behaviour management strategies, and to also remember people's names as quickly as possible, as it's really effective, not only for praise but also for behaviour management.
Yeah, to be honest, the job is everything I was expecting. My wife's a teacher, my sister's a teacher. I've got half a dozen friends that work in the education sector, so nothing's really come as a surprise. But although we're only 2 weeks into school, I've already been sent off. So I'm isolating already. So it's going to be, again, I've got to go back in, and this isn't what I expected. So that, the aspect of now having to work from home and remote learning, that's not what I signed up for, but I'll get used to it and we'll do it. I mean, I already feel I've made a difference to some of my pupils. Like teaching a class last week, some of the kids really struggled to understand the concept. We dug into it deep, and they understood it by the next lesson, and using the AFL techniques to assess whether the whole class understands it. And yeah, you get a feeling. Yeah, I've taught the kids that I've facilitated this learning, and that's a great feeling to have.
Okay, so question number 1: do you feel like you had enough support, and what support would have made things easier for you? If this question is regarding my training, I had 2 placements. I did have enough support in the first placement, but I did not feel I had all support that I would have liked to have in the second one. This was because I did not get to spend as much time with my mentor. As many people are involved, like professional mentor, university subject mentor, I would have liked to have more support from my mentor. Question number 2: I do understand my accountabilities and my role, and the most challenging thing has been planning the time required to plan for students with very different abilities in a classroom. Number 3, tell me about a good lesson or bad lesson that you've had, and what did you learn? I cannot really remember a very, very good lesson because I am very self-critical. But all through the lessons, and the lessons I have felt happy is when I have had the feeling that every single student in the class was engaged, and through assessment, questioning, or whiteboards, I have been shown that they were learning. Also, when I have felt that I have provided the right activities for them to enjoy the lesson while working, and make more one-to-one time, put away more time to them, engage them more during the lessons, like via body language, looking at them, asking, get them engaged basically, and depending on their abilities, and try to match it. because one of the reasons why they may not enjoy the subject is because they don't fully understand, so they can disengage and disconnect. Now, number 5, if I was ahead, what would I change? Regarding placement, I would try to give more time to mentors and trainees, and very importantly, for people who are very self-critical, and I am, and I believe that many of us are, because we have high expectations. I think I would try to have a very positive outlook, which is something I did learn at university, when I was trying to reflect on myself, to first focus in the positives